What's up? It's your girl, Dr. Tarika Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou, your partner in success and progress. And I help people to achieve success using education and other tools. I want to talk to you today about 2 key tips that I share with all of my clients that really will help you to be successful if you're trying to use education to leverage up. And that includes if you're trying to find the best educational solution for your child who is in kindergarten through 12th grade. I know a lot of parents are stressing and pulling their hair out right now as they try to figure out the best way to educate their children, given the pandemic and so many other things that are happening around the world. So I'd like to share with you my story about how I figured out the best education option for my child. And hopefully in that and those 2 tips, you will find something of value. My oldest was going to kindergarten. And this is my firstborn child, and so as you can imagine, I was super nervous, super excited, and worried that I wanted to make the right decision and I wanted to do what was best for him. So we did what every other family does. We tried to live in the best neighborhood possible to provide the best opportunities, and then we took him to the school he was zoned for. Little did we know that that does not always work out. So immediately his after school stories went from being happy and positive to sad and filled with disappointment from day to day. So I sat down with his teacher to try to sort out what was really happening so that I could support both his success and hers. And the story that she shared really troubled me. The first thing I remember her saying was, "Your son is a really sweet kid. However, he asks very pointed and targeted questions, and I'm not always sure that this class is the right fit for him." I was worried about behavior, not because my son had ever had behavioral issues, but it's just every parent's concern that their child goes to school and represents the family well by being well behaved. But it turns out, based on the example that she gave, that behavior was not the issue. She proceeded to share with me that she had taught a lesson on dinosaurs just a week before. And my son at the end of the unit raised his hand and had a couple of targeted questions. He ended by sharing with her how excited he was to be learning about dinosaurs that lived during the Cretaceous period, and that it was really cool that these dinosaurs were herbivores and not carnivores or omnivores, as most people think dinosaurs are. Again, I'm thinking it's a good thing that this child knows a little bit about the subject matter and is excited to share with his peers. I just saw all kinds of opportunities for learning all around. And when she finished her story, the thing that I remember her saying the most was, those questions are the issue. It's not that he spoke for very long, but after he was done, the other children had questions about Cretaceous period versus the Jurassic period, and how do dinosaurs get their food, and what's the difference between an herbivore and an omnivore. So it left me having to teach a little bit longer, and the bottom line is, according to this teacher, in her own words, I teach middle of the road. I don't have time to work too long with students who are not keeping up with the rest of the class, and I definitely don't have time to engage questions from students that are more advanced because they've studied on their own and they understand the topic that I'm teaching about. So this is a challenge for me. I was looking for an out for her because this just did not sound like the type of attitude that I would want a person to teach my son with. So I reached out to the administrator thinking maybe the class isn't a good fit, and the administrator echoed the same sentiment as the teacher. And they both finished our conversations by telling me that they had noted that I moved to the city from a metropolitan area, and that maybe it was time to move to a larger city again because that would be the only way that my son would get better academic opportunities. Needless to say, I pulled my son from that school. We put him in a new school. And long story short, he did finish school. He did do just fine. He graduated with honors. But I learned 2 things from that experience that I've carried with me both in my own personal academic pursuits and as I help other students and other clients. And that is, number 1, grades, accolades, standardized test scores, and resources do not always indicate that whether or not a school is a good school or a bad school. That's number 1. Number 2, I learned that you always have a choice. I had a choice then, I just didn't know it. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, it is your girl, Dr. Tarika Lewis, otherwise known as Dr. Lou. I want to be your partner in success and progress, and for now, I am out.